Part 14. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuchi. Chapter 131. Scene Tang Daxia, Yongsheng Group's office building. Although there was a look of fear in his eyes, Zheng Heiran still did not take the initiative to beg for mercy, which meant that the other party must be suspicious and thought he was lying just now. Thinking of this, Zhang Fengjai raised the corners of his mouth slightly and revealed a sneer, and reached out to pat the other party's Shenkei appointment on his right chest. Then, Zheng Heiran held his head tightly with his left hand, bent his body and began to howl miserably. It will occur every 2 hours, and each attack lasts for 5 minutes. While the pain had just begun and Zheng Heiran was still conscious, Zhang Fengjai kindly reminded him. Enjoy this thrilling process of being unable to live or die. Uncle, I was wrong. I shouldn't have troubled you for no reason, and I shouldn't have threatened your family. Please forgive me. It was precisely because of his high level of clarity that Zheng Heiran felt endless fear after hearing Zhang Fengjai's reminder, and the defense line in his heart completely collapsed, and finally began to beg bitterly. Don't be afraid, 5 minutes is a short time, you can get through it if you grit your teeth. Only when the other party is truly afraid and leaves an indelible impression in his heart, will he be obedient and dare not retaliate with resentment. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai not only ignored Zheng Heiran's pleading, but also squatted beside him to cheer and encourage him. Zheng Heiran's pitiful howling made Sulizi's eyes flash with a trace of pity and worry. Zhang Fengjai's overly cold and cruel behavior replaced the pity and worry in her eyes with dissatisfaction. Walking to Zhang Fengjai's side, Sulizi criticized with an unhappy face. Yezi, that's enough. After hearing Sulizi's scolding, Zhang Fengjai couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, then stood up and asked in confusion. Sister Lizi, what's wrong with you? Yezi, forgive others when you can. Sulizi tried her best to suppress her inner dissatisfaction and persuaded in a gentle tone. Since Mr. Zheng has already taken the initiative to admit defeat and beg for mercy, why do you continue to torture him cruelly? Sulizi's sudden burst of sympathy surprised Zhang Fengjai, and a hint of hesitation appeared in her eyes. She knew the origin of Zheng Heiran's Chamber of Commerce, and she knew that Zheng Heiran would take revenge for any slight. If he didn't use cruel torture methods to completely shock the other party, then he would face the other party's bloody and crazy revenge. After all, Zheng Heiran's right hand had been completely disabled by him, and there was already an irreconcilable hatred between them. In this case, as a lover with a sympathetic heart, Sulizi should choose to support silently. Why did she suddenly question her own actions? Yezi, do you want me to beg you? Seeing Zhang Fengjai, who was in deep thought, neither gave her a clear answer nor relieved the pain that Zheng Heiran was suffering, Sulizi asked with a hint of anger on her face. Alas! Faced with Sulizi's questioning, Zhang Fengjai sighed lightly, turned around and patted the Shenkei appointment on the other's right chest. Then, he walked out of the office and planned to find a secluded place so that he could think about the reasons for their different ideas. Sulizi's voice came to his ears again. Yezi, remove the means you used on Mr. Zheng, and don't let the other party suffer this kind of painful torture. After the doubtful look was instantly replaced by gloom, Zhang Fengjai picked 3 tender leaves of a happy tree and hit Zheng Heiran's 3 sealed acupoints with the method of using hidden weapons. Then, he quickened his pace and left the office area. Mr. Zheng, I'm really sorry. I apologize to you on behalf of Yezi. I hope you will forgive him. Ignoring Zhang Fengjai, who left the office, Sulizi quickly bowed to Zheng Heiran and apologized solemnly. Enduring the pain in his body, Zheng Heiran quickly got up, waved his hand to indicate that he would not care, and quickened his pace to leave the office area. However, Wang Denmei, who was standing at the door of the general manager's office, saw a flash of viciousness in Zheng Heiran's eyes. Sister Lizi, why do you want young Master Zhang to let Zheng Heiran go? As a child of a noble family, Wang Danwu understood Zhang Fengjai's intention to torture Zheng Heiran very well, so she was very puzzled by Sulitsi's sudden request. Denmei, the brothers' chamber of commerce behind Zhenheiren, controls one-third of the sand supply in the entire Ningji city. Facing Wang Denmei's confusion, Sulitsi explained with a helpless look. If Yezi offends Zhenheiren badly today, and the brother chamber of commerce does not sell enough sand to our group, it will definitely affect the progress of the construction of Lala village and the other 2 plots of land. Alas! The reason for ordering Zhang Fengjai to let Zhenheiren go was just because of some sand for building a house. After hearing the absurd reason given by Sulitsi, Wang Denmei was shocked and really didn't know what to say. With a sigh, she walked to Shen Loxi and winked at her, hoping that she could come forward to point out the mistakes made by Sulitsi and the misunderstandings that might be caused by Zhang Fengjai. But unfortunately, after waiting for Zhang Fengjai and Sulitsi's relationship to have a rift, how could Shen Loxi be kind enough to help her make up for it? So, facing Wang Denmei's eyes, Shen Loxi not only turned a blind eye, but also took the initiative to invite Sulitsi to discuss the development of Lala village, delaying the time and depth of the misunderstanding between the two. After passing through the lobby on the first floor and leaving Xintang building, Zhang Fengjai wandered aimlessly while thinking about the reason why Sulitsi came forward to plead for Zhenheiren. But there was no basis for his wild speculation, except that he felt more confused, and there was no gain. Forget it. The increasing doubts made Zhang Fengjai feel a little headache, and he had to find a way to dispel the doubts. Wait until Brother Zhu comes back from the provincial capital and ask him. With his understanding of women, he should know what's going on. After dispelling himself and no longer suffering from doubts, Zhang Fengjai looked up and looked around, and found that he had come to a park with beautiful environment, towering trees, and fresh air. Anyway, he would watch TV series in the office when he went back now, so he might as well relax, so he walked into the park with his mind empty. Trying to avoid the old men and women who gathered to sing and dance, Zhang Fengjai chose some secluded paths and soon came to a natural pond deep in the park. In addition to the specially planted flowers and bonsai around the pond, there was also a patch of weeds that had not been cleared. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 132. Except for the occasional couples passing by, the environment around the pond is relatively quiet, so Zhang Fengjai decided to rest here for a while. Lying directly on a piece of bluestone beside the pond, with his hands under his head, looking up at the blue sky and white clouds, his thoughts gradually returned to Shushan. Although he had not been away from Shushan for a long time, the experience during this period was more thrilling and exciting than the 1 year he had been in Shushan. While it was thrilling and exciting, he missed the 3 grandfathers in Zhang village and the friends on Shushan. Squeak. Just when Zhang Fengjai's thoughts returned to Shushan, a panicked squeaking sound of mice suddenly rang in his ears. He stood up suddenly and looked around. He found a giant mouse with a height of nearly 15 centimeters and a length of more than 50 centimeters, with black and white hair, crawling under the bluestone, trembling all over, looking at him with fear and help in his eyes. Jumping off the bluestone and standing in front of the black and white mouse, Zhang Fengjai stared at the weeds in front of him with a serious expression. Because the black and white giant rat has successfully cultivated a trace of demonic energy, it is only a matter of time before it is promoted to a real demon beast. Even the most ferocious beasts dare not provoke it easily, so the only one who can force it to flee desperately is a demon beast with stronger strength. The time of watching is not very long. A black python that keeps stretching its tongue slowly crawls out of the weeds. 1 meter. 5 meters. 10 meters. 17 meters. When the black python's tail completely left the weeds, Zhang Fengjai couldn't help but take a breath, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Because the body length of the black python in front of him is as long as 17 meters. In folk legends, there are records of snakes and pythons becoming demons at 10 meters, becoming dragons at 100 meters, and flying dragons at 1,000 meters. This means that if the body length of a snake or python exceeds 10 meters, then the snake or python will open its mind and become a demon beast, and have very powerful strength. If the body of a snake or python is longer than 100 meters, it will shed its mortal body and become a demon dragon, with the ability to call the wind and rain. If the body of a dragon is longer than 1000 meters, it will become a divine dragon. As a Taoist monk, Zhang Fengjai not only knows that the record of snakes and pythons turning into dragons is true, but also knows how powerful snakes and pythons are after they are promoted to demon beasts. The black python in front of him, with a body length of 17 meters, not only has the same steel bones as him, but also has the strength of the 7th level of qi condensation, which is not something he can easily deal with. However, the black and white mouse is a mutant rat demon among rats. It has a deep blood relationship with a certain existence in the rat mountain. He has to save the other's life for both emotional and rational reasons. So, while taking a step forward, he took out the last talisman that could attract the 9 heavens thunder stolen from his third grandfather from his sleeve. The black python, which had already raised its upper body, immediately crawled on the ground in fear after seeing the talisman in Zhang Fengjai's hand, and then began to move around looking for an opportunity to attack. Zhang Fengjai mobilized all the spiritual power in his danshan, and followed the black python with vigilant eyes, ready to activate the talisman to summon the 9 heavens thunder at any time. After treating each other for nearly 5 minutes, the black python gradually lost its patience and was about to launch an attack by force, when the sound of conversation suddenly came from not far away. "Xiao Li, we have been in love for more than 3 months, and I haven't even held your hand. Don't you like me?" "Xiao Qi, if I don't like you, I can't accompany you to eat and go shopping. It's just that the relationship between us has not reached the point of holding hands." Along with the questioning and replying conversation, a young man with ordinary appearance, accompanied by a girl with outstanding appearance and figure, slowly appeared in Zhang Fengjai's sight. "Snake." When the girl called Xiaoli saw the black python in front of the weeds, she screamed loudly and fell to the ground with weak legs. The young man called Shaokai turned and ran away with fear in his eyes, ignoring the girl he was pursuing. Although the girl appeared by the pond by herself, the black python was provoked by the black and white mice, and encountered the girl during the confrontation with him. According to the relationship of cause and effect in Taoism, if the girl was hurt by the black python, then he would also indirectly bear a trace of cause and effect. Although this trace of cause and effect would not have much impact, he did not want to be contaminated for no reason. So, while flashing in front of the girl, Zhang Fengjai used his spiritual power to activate the talisman without any hesitation. At the moment the talisman was activated, feeling the divine thunder that was rapidly condensing in the air, the black python turned around and ran straight to the weeds in a panic, intending to rely on the terrain of the weeds to avoid the damage of the 9 heavens divine thunder. But the speed of the black python's escape was just like a snail and an oriole compared to the speed of the 9 heavens divine thunder. So, when the head of the black python was less than 1 meter away from the weeds, the 9 heavens divine thunder, as thick as a hair, directly hit its huge tail. Hiss! The black python hit by the 9 heavens divine thunder suddenly raised its upper body and roared, and then forcibly broke the unconscious tail of the python, and then dragged its body into the weeds. However, before disappearing into the weeds, the black python turned its head and glanced at Zhang Fengjai. Its cold and huge eyes showed a sinister look of hatred. Ah! Knowing that he had been targeted by the black python, Zhang Fengjai could not help but sigh softly and winked at the black and white mouse hiding under the blue stone. The mouse nodded with gratitude in its eyes, and the black and white mouse ran directly into the flowers and disappeared by the pond. "Thank you." Just as Zhang Fengjai watched the black and white mouse leave the pond, a delicate voice of thanks suddenly came from behind. "You're welcome." After a simple polite remark, Zhang Fengjai absent-mindedly bent over to help the other party up, and quickly used the means of scaring to remind the other party to leave as soon as possible. "If you are fine, leave here as soon as possible, because I don't know if the injured black python will come back. After hearing Zhang Fenjai's reminder, the girl, whose face was still as pale as paper, immediately nodded and turned away after a look of fear flashed in her eyes. However, before the girl left, she also left her background and contact information. Brother, my name is Fang Manli, I am a freshman at Ningji University of Finance and Economics, my phone number is 1351. You must come to play with me in the future. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 133. After watching Fang Manli disappear from his sight, Zhang Fenjai quickly turned his head to look at the nearly 10-meter long tail of the black python, with a look of surprise in his eyes. The black python with the strength equivalent to the 7th level of qi condensation can be said to be full of treasures. Python blood can be used to draw talismans, python skin can be used to sew close-fitting soft armor, and python meat can be used to enhance the hardness and strength of the body. Although the last thunder talisman was lost, it was worth it to exchange for half of the remains of the black python monster. But the only trouble is how to quietly transport the nearly 10-meter long tail of the python. Ding ding dong dong. Just as he was worrying about how to take away the nearly 10-meter long remains of the black python, the artifact mobile phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. Brother Zhu. When Zhang Fenjai saw that the number on the caller ID was Zhu Zhenjun, he quickly answered the call. Brother, you are amazing. The moment the phone was connected, Zhu Zhenjun's excited voice came from the phone immediately. When the old guys of the Chu family saw the teeth of the vampire and the cross of the Vatican master, they not only promised not to hold us responsible for killing Chu's Hongaiwo, but also gave us a lot of good things. The Chu family's temporary tolerance did not surprise Zhang Fenjai at all. At the same time, Zhu Zhenjun's call also made him think of transporting the remains of the black python. So, he calmly interrupted Zhu Zhenjun's excited narration and ordered. Brother Zhu, I am in front of the pond deep in the Renchinj district wetland park. You should find a way to transfer a truck here immediately. I need to transport something very important. What kind of treasure? How big is it? Zhu Zhenjun on the other end of the phone asked quickly. A python tail nearly 10 meters long. After hearing Zhang Fenjai's answer, Zhu Zhenjun on the other end of the phone ordered after a silence of more than 10 seconds. Brother, find a way to hide the python's tail first. I will arrive in a truck with a container in half an hour. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Fenjai walked to the front of the python's tail. He took a deep breath, mobilized his strong body, and dragged the python's tail weighing more than 800 kilograms into the weeds, then sat cross-legged in front of the weeds to avoid anyone approaching and noticing anything unusual. Fortunately, as time got closer to noon, whether it was the old men and women who were relaxing or the couples who were in love, they all began to gradually leave the park, saving Zhang Fenjai, who was guarding the weeds, a lot of trouble. 25 minutes later, accompanied by the harsh sound of brakes, Zhang Fenjai quickly looked up and found a small truck with a load of 5 tons parked on the stone road 30 meters away from the pond. Immediately afterwards, Zhu Zhenjun jumped out of the cab with an excited look on his face. Brother, where's the big guy? Dragging his fat body to Zhang Fenjai, Zhu Zhenjun panted and looked around for the imaginary python tail. Brother Zhu, pay attention to the situation around you. After giving the instructions, Zhang Fenjai used his strong body strength again, dragged the nearly 10-meter long python tail out of the weeds, and then continued to drag it to the medium-sized truck. Zi. When Zhu Zhenjun saw the black python tail dragged by Zhang Fenjai, he couldn't help but take a breath. The length of the python tail alone is nearly 10 meters, so how long is the whole body of the python? 15 meters? Or 20 meters? As an inland plain city, how could Ningji city have such a huge python? Brother Zhu, let's go." After dragging the python tail into the container, Zhang Fengjai saw Zhu Zhenjun standing there in a daze, and hurriedly greeted him. "Here we go." Zhu Zhenjun, who had regained consciousness, dragged his fat back to the car, panted and started the truck to leave the wetland park, and then headed straight to the villa in Guanghe Huafu. Zhang Jiyi took out his mobile phone to contact Shen Loxi, asking her to take Sulitzi and Wang Danmei to Zhu Zhenjun's villa. Guanghe Huafu, Villa number 7. After dragging the nearly 10-meter-long python tail into the living room, Zhang Fengjai immediately found 2 plastic buckets for water in the kitchen, and then collected 2 buckets of python blood from the wound of the python tail. At this time, Shen Loxi brought Wang Danmei to the living room of the villa. After signaling them not to speak for the time being, Zhang Fengjai mobilized the Danshan spiritual power to gather in the index finger of his right hand, and then began to cut the python skin with the finger-turned sword. Although the defense of the python skin was somewhat weakened after losing the nourishment of the demon power, the hardness was enough to withstand the damage of the magic weapon. Therefore, even with the help of spiritual power, it took him nearly 3 minutes to completely peel off the python skin. Then, he ordered Zhu Zhenjun to go to the yard to prepare the grill and charcoal fire, as well as various seasonings, and then cut and sort the python meat snake. Chili, pepper, 13 spices, cumin, sesame powder. As the seasonings for barbecue were constantly sprinkled on the python meat, the tempting barbecue aroma made Shen Loxi, who had made up her mind not to eat python meat, start to swallow saliva continuously. Zhu Zhenjun even took out 2 boxes of iced beer from the refrigerator, and then rubbed his hands to enjoy the delicious barbecue. Except for Danmei, who can eat 3 pieces, President Shen and Brother Zhu can only eat 1 piece while sprinkling the seasoning. Zhang Fengjai ordered Zhu Zhenjun, who was staring at the barbecue like a hungry wolf. "Why?" Zhu Zhenjun asked puzzledly. "Because you can neither eat it nor digest it?" "Ha ha." After hearing Zhang Fengjai's answer, Zhu Zhenjun couldn't help laughing and patted his belly, which was as big as a pregnant woman's. "Brother, my general's belly is also called the Prime Minister's belly. I can drink all the wine and eat all the meat in the world. The meat you prepared is only enough to fill my teeth." Putting a piece of roasted python meat weighing about 1 or 2 pounds on the plate, Zhang Fengjai reminded with a smile. "Brother Zhu, try a piece first." The charming golden color and tempting meat aroma made Zhu Zhenjun throw it into his mouth without caring whether it was hot or not. Delicious, so delicious. Crispy, tender, crispy, and delicious. The taste impact brought by the roasted python meat made Zhu Zhenjun enjoy it and couldn't help but cheer. This also made Shen Loxi finally overcome his fear and reach out to pick up the second piece of roasted python meat, and then taste it slowly. However, when the python's roast meat was swallowed, the release of the essence in the roast meat made Zhu Zhenjun's face change and asked, "Brother, why do I feel a fire burning in my stomach?" "Brother Zhu, run 5 laps around the entire villa area, and you will have different feelings and changes." After signaling Wang Danmei to enjoy the 3 pieces of python meat that had just been roasted, Zhang Fengjai smiled and instructed Zhu Zhenjun. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 134. Guanghe Huafu, in Villa number 7. For a fat man with a body full of fat, running is just an action in fantasy. They are a group of people who would rather walk than run, stand than walk, sit than stand, and lie than sit. So, after hearing Zhang Fengjai's order, Zhu Zhenjun instinctively opened his mouth to refuse, but the burning feeling in his body made him have an urge to vent. In the end, the pain caused by the burning overcame laziness, and he turned around and ran out of the yard and started running around the entire Guanghe Villa area. "Yezi, I'm so hot." Shen Loxi, who also ate a piece of barbecue, had a pink cheek like warm jade, and her clear eyes showed infinite tenderness. Her increasingly heavy breathing made her full of charming charm. "Boss Shen, don't panic." Zhang Fengjai ignored Shen Loxi's charming temptation, smiled and comforted her, and took out 5 silver needles and pierced them into 5 acupuncture points on her shoulders, abdomen, waist, and forehead. As the 5 silver needles pierced into Shen Loxi's 5 acupuncture points, her complexion gradually returned to normal, and her skin became whiter, tenderer, and smoother than before. Her breathing gradually became stable, and she seemed more powerful than before. Denmei, bend your knees and meditate, and then transform the energy that emerges from your body into internal force, Zhang Fenjai instructed Wang Denmei, who also felt it, while taking out the 5 silver needles that pierced Shen Loxi's 5 acupuncture points. Yezi, what kind of meat is this? Worried that the heat on her cheeks just now would affect her makeup, Shen Loxi quickly took out a mirror to observe. When she saw the whiter, smoother, and more delicate face, she asked with surprise in her eyes. Don't panic, wait until Brother Zhu comes back, I will explain it to you in detail. After a simple gesture with a smile, Zhang Fenjai put away his smile and asked. Mr. Shen, where is Sister Litsi? There are some disputes in the Roman holiday sales department under Sister Litzi's charge. She is dealing with them and has no time to rush over for the time being, Shen Loxi replied with a little guilty conscience. Because the dispute over Roman holiday was nothing more than the buyer intending to withdraw from the house under the pretext of feng shui superstition, it usually only requires the project manager and lawyer to come forward to resolve it. But she used sweet words to get Sulitsi, the deputy general manager, to go in person, hoping to continue to deepen the misunderstanding between the two, and then create time and opportunities for her to pursue Zhang Fenjai. It seems that I can only prepare it for Sister Litsi alone at night. Although Zhang Fenjai felt a little sorry that he could not taste the freshest barbecue, he did not feel too sorry when he thought that the python meat frozen in the frost would not lose too much blood and flesh essence in 2 to 3 days. Then, he began to enjoy the deliciousness of his own barbecue alone. The steel-like body that can absorb the essence of barbecue at any time, combined with iced beer, allowed him to eat nearly 3 pounds of python meat before he patted his round belly and put down his chopsticks. At this time, Wang Denmei, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened her eyes and slapped the ground with her right hand. With the support and rebound force of the palm, Wang Denmei flew more than 2 meters into the air and slapped the willow tree 3 meters away. Bang! Although it was an empty palm in the air, not only did a palm print appear on the trunk of the willow tree, but the whole tree also shook violently. The internal force is released, the state of great success. Seeing the violently shaking willow tree and the palm print left on the trunk, Zhang Fenjai hurriedly bowed and congratulated. Denmei, congratulations on your internal force reaching the state of great success and becoming the top master of the inner family. Denmei thanks young master Zhang for his kindness. Wang Denmei quickly calmed down the boiling internal force and knelt down to express her gratitude. For the children of the aristocratic family, the internal force can be promoted to the state of great success, which not only enhances their own strength, but also represents the improvement of identity and status, and can master part of the family's voice. Apart from other things, the marriage that the children of the aristocratic family could not decide on their own could no longer restrain her, who was advancing to the great perfection realm in her heart. In response, Zhang Fenjai quickly reached out and helped her up, saying with a smile, Denmei, although my help helped you to successfully advance your internal strength to the great perfection realm, it was more due to your hard work. Besides, your grandfather and my second grandfather have a life and death comradeship, so it is natural for him to help you, so there is no need for such politeness between you and me. Denmei knows. Although Wang Denmei was no longer grateful, she looked at Zhang Fenjai with a strange look in her eyes. Of course, this strange look was different from Sulitsi and Shen Loxi, it was a look that only the children of the aristocratic family could understand. 20 minutes. Zhu Zhenjun, who ran 5 laps around the Guanghe Villa district, finally had the burning feeling in his body completely disappear. When he returned to the villa with a steady breath, Shen Loxi couldn't help but shout in surprise. Pighead, You've lost weight. After hearing Shen Loxi's surprised pointing out his changes, Zhu Zhenjun was stunned for a moment, then immediately rushed into the villa. Afterwards, Zhu Zhenjun's excited shout came from the villa. I've lost weight, I actually lost 20 pounds directly. Then, Zhu Zhenjun rushed out of the villa and asked excitedly. Brother, what's going on? After smiling and motioning everyone to sit on the stone chairs in the courtyard, Zhang Fengjai opened a bottle of iced beer, drank it happily, and then began to explain the reason for their changes just now. Brother, I once heard a top master of the inner family at home say that wild beasts and animals after the founding of the country are not allowed to become spirits. Hearing that the nearly 10-meter long python tail was left by a monster black python, Zhu Zhenjun immediately asked in confusion. The inner family master at home is not only a top master whose inner strength is about to reach the peak, but also has practiced with masters in the Taoist sect for a period of time. The top master learned from a very powerful Taoist that wild beasts and animals after the founding of the country are not allowed to become spirits. That's right. After nodding to confirm the authenticity of Zhu Zhenjun's words just now, Zhang Fengjai added solemnly. But you have misunderstood the true meaning of this sentence. To gain powerful strength and a long life through practice is the innate instinct of living beings, and no one can kill or stop this instinct. So, the true meaning of not being able to become a spirit is that all monsters that have become spirits are not allowed to appear in front of the world, and they cannot easily harm ordinary people. This is also the reason why there are very few news about monsters in newspapers and on the internet. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 135. Guanghe Washington Mansion, in Villa Number 7. Well. When Zhang Fengjai explained in detail why wild beasts and animals could not become spirits after the founding of the People's Republic of China, he couldn't help but sigh. Because at that time, in addition to the order that wild beasts and animals should not become spirits, there were also requirements that monks should not show magic in front of mortals, not use magic to confuse people's hearts, let alone open monasteries to recruit disciples. Originally, at the beginning of the founding of the People's Republic of China, the Taoist monks and monsters who had just experienced the war were in urgent need of a stable environment to recuperate, and they also conscientiously implemented the country's orders and requirements. But what no one expected was that the sudden 10 years of turmoil not only completely disrupted the Taoist sect's plan to recuperate, but also caused many innocent monks to be persecuted. In the end, not only did the Taoist sect's strength fail to recover, but its losses were even more severe than during the war. This is probably why the Taoist sect's masters tolerated the infiltration of the Western Holy See and foreign races. It's not that I don't want to stop it, it's that I can't do anything about it. On the other hand, what about the monsters? Not being affected in any way, they not only gradually recovered their losses during the war, but also took the opportunity to occupy a lot of territory and obtain more cultivation resources. Nowadays, the overall strength of the monster has completely surpassed that of Taoism, and it has gradually revealed its ambition to be reborn. I am afraid this is also the reason why the nine-headed monster in the Venetian land dared to sneak attack on him, and the black giant python dared to appear openly in the wetland park. After all, without the use of large-scale lethal weapons, ordinary humans have no ability to resist in the face of monsters. Zhu Zhenjun, who didn't notice Zhang Fengjai's sigh, immediately had a bold idea in his mind when he learned that the roasted python meat he had just eaten was actually a monster that could exist like a Taoist monk. That is, after continuing to use python meat to change his obese physique, he will find a way to break away from the shackles of his family and establish his own business, and then realize the monastic career he has always pursued. Brother, I just saw that the python meat you had frozen in the refrigerator weighs more than 100 kilograms. I wonder if you can give me a few kilograms. After hearing Zhu Zhenjun's request, Shen Loxi and Wang Denmei also had a look of desire in their eyes. For Shen Loxi, she does not have Zhu Zhenjun's ambition to practice Taoism. he just wanted to use python meat to make his skin smoother and more tender, and to make his appearance more dazzling, so that he could increase his capital and advantages in pursuing Zhang Fengjai. As for Wang Danmei, her ambition is not inferior to that of Zhu Zhenjun. Because she wanted to use python meat to achieve peak internal strength in a short period of time, and then hit the innate realm that countless internal masters dreamed of. The masters of the innate realm are the ones who can truly compete with the masters of Taoism. No. After hearing Zhu Zhenjun's request, Zhang Fengjai, who put away his inner feelings, shook his head and refused, but was worried that the other party would misunderstand it and quickly explained. As a demonic black python whose strength is comparable to the 7th level of qi condensation, the energy contained in its flesh and blood can instantly erupt into a threat that is comparable to a slippery bullet. The python meat that Zhu Zhenjun, Shen Loxi, and Wang Danmei just ate was because he used his spiritual power to enhance the power of charcoal roasting and forcibly deprived nearly 99% of the energy in the barbecue before he dared to enjoy it with confidence. If Zhu Zhenjun and the others roasted and consumed it themselves, there would be only one final result, and that would be death by explosion without any bones left. Zi. After hearing Zhang Fengjai's explanation, Zhu Zhenjun, Shen Loxi, and Wang Danmei all took a breath, with looks of horror and joy in their eyes. Fortunately, they didn't steal the python meat frozen in the refrigerator just now because of their inner greed. But after rejoicing, Shen Loxi suddenly thought of the working relationship between her and Zhang Fengjai, and asked with a look of longing in her eyes. Yezi, can you grill me a piece of delicious python meat every day? No. After shaking his head and rejecting without any hesitation, Zhang Fengjai continued to give the reasons for his rejection. Because even if 99% of the energy in the python meat is removed, the remaining 1% of energy cannot be completely consumed so easily. With Shen Loxi's weak constitution, it would take at least 10 days to enjoy the second piece of python meat again. However, the energy essence contained in the flesh and blood that has lost the magical power of the black python can only be maintained for about 2 days at most. At that time, the python blood with the energy essence completely dissipated will not only become ordinary python meat, but the meat will also become sour, bitter, dry, and hard to swallow. After hearing Zhang Fengjai's explanation, Shen Loxi could only give up the idea of enjoying special treatment, and Zhu Zhenjun and Wang Danmei also completely extinguished their ambitions to become stronger. Fortunately, the first piece of python barbecue that he just ate could still subtly change Shen Loxi's appearance and skin, change Zhu Zhenjun's fat physique, and help Wang Danmei accelerate her internal strength cultivation to reach the peak. Therefore, not being able to continue enjoying the remaining python meat did not affect their joy at all. Next, everyone sat around the stone table in the courtyard drinking and chatting. After the drunken Shen Loxi got up and left the villa, Zhu Zhenjun, who was not drunk at all, got up and entered the villa, and then walked out again carrying a suitcase. "Brother, this is an apology gift from the Chu family to you." Zhu Zhenjun placed the suitcase on the stone table and gestured after opening it. A bank card, a round and exquisite jade pendant, and a stack of documents stamped with official seals. "Brother, I have checked it for you on the way here." Reaching out to pick up the bank card and documents in the suitcase, Zhu Zhenjun introduced them in detail. "There is a deposit of 20 million in this bank card. This document is a 5% dry stock dividend agreement of a listed company, and the annual stock dividend is about 15 million. After handing the bank card and stock dividend agreement to Zhang Fengjai, Zhu Zhenjun reached out to pick up the jade pendant and continued to introduce it. "As for the origin and quality of this jade pendant, I have found a top jade expert to identify it for you. It should be the exquisite jade of the southern border. The quality is superior, and the market price is about 7 million. Handing the bank card and stock dividend agreement to Zhu Zhenjun, Zhang Fengjai instructed. "Brother Zhu, please help me withdraw the 20 million in the card and the 15 million in stock dividends, and then accompany me to the New Century Plaza in the city center." "Brother, to withdraw such a large amount of cash, you need to make an appointment with the bank in advance, and the earliest time is the day after tomorrow. After reaching out to receive the bank card and the stock dividend agreement, Zhu Zhenjun nodded in agreement, picked up his phone and stood up to contact the bank. Zhang Fengjai took the opportunity to look down at the round and smooth jade pendant in his hand. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 136. Guanghe Huafu, in Villa Number 7. When the index finger and thumb gently rubbed the delicate jade pendant, the jade pendant quickly generated a temperature that could nourish the skin, which immediately aroused his interest. Then, he placed the jade pendant on the table, and then placed the index finger and middle finger of his right hand on the jade pendant, and carefully felt the condition inside the jade pendant with the pulse-taking method of traditional Chinese medicine. This is when the picture of the internal structure of the jade pendant was displayed through the pulse-taking method, Zhang Fengjai's right hand suddenly paused, and an ecstatic smile immediately appeared on his face. Brother, what's wrong with you? After hanging up the appointment call with the bank, seeing Zhang Fengjai with a bright smile on his face, Zhu Zhenjun couldn't help asking. Nothing. Shaking his head, Zhang Fengjai did not explain the true value of the jade pendant in too much. He put the jade pendant on his sleeve and stood up to say goodbye. But at this moment, the artifact mobile phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. He took out his cell phone and took a look. When he found that the number on the caller ID was Sulitsi, he quickly answered the phone. Yezi, come and save me, I'm trapped in the house on the east side of the 28th floor of Unit 3, Building 9 of Roman Holiday. When Sulitsi's terrified cry for help and the very harsh sound of electric friction came from the phone, Zhang Fengjai couldn't help but hang up the phone with a change of face, and then ordered Zhu Zhenjun with a gloomy face. Brother Zhu, please help me call a car. I want to rush to Roman Holiday immediately. Brother, I'll take you. After quickly putting away the bank card and stock dividend agreement, Zhu Zhenjun turned back to the villa to get the car keys. In this regard, Zhang Fengjai hesitated for a moment, but finally did not stop Zhu Zhenjun from driving under the influence. After all, the Bugatti Veyron with a speed of more than 400 miles per hour and the power of the Zhu family in Dongshan province are the only means to ensure that he can rush to Roman Holiday as quickly as possible. For Zhu Zhenjun, who is known as the Prime Minister, a dozen bottles of beer just entered the stage of excitement. Under the stimulation of this state of excitement, his driving skills really reached the realm of perfection. Overtaking, emergency stop, drifting, dodging, and sharp turns. The journey that originally took at least more than 20 minutes, at a speed of more than 150 miles per hour, and without any traffic police daring to stop it, it took less than 6 minutes to stop at the sales office of Roman Holiday. Getting off the car quickly and rushing to the sales office, Zhang Fengjai directly reached out and grabbed a stunning beauty whose appearance and temperament were not inferior to Sulitsi and asked. Where is Unit 3 of Building 9? Who are you? Are you sick? The stunning beauty who struggled to break free, with a disgusted look on her face, shouted and insulted. Sorry. Knowing that his behavior just now was too rude, Zhang Fengjai took a deep breath, tried his best to suppress his impatience, bowed his hands and apologized, and continued to ask. Excuse me, where is the third unit of Building 9? Why should I tell you? After looking him up and down, he found that the thin boy in front of him not only had an ordinary appearance, but also had shabby clothes. The stunning beauty refused without hiding the disgust in her eyes. You. If he was not in a hurry to rescue Sulitsi who was in danger, he would have to teach this dog-eyed woman a lesson for the humiliating behavior of the stunning woman just now. Taking a deep breath and forcibly suppressing the anger in his heart, Zhang Fengjai cast his eyes on a pure girl with a pure and lovely appearance, elegant temperament, and aura that was not inferior to the stunning woman. "Excuse me, where is the third unit of Building 9? Go in from here, pass a 50-meter stone road, turn right and pass 3 buildings, and then go west." Without the arrogance of the stunning woman, and without any disgust in her eyes because of Zhang Fengjai's shabby clothes, the pure girl introduced in detail. However, the overall layout of Roman holiday, which combines Chinese and Western elements, is very complicated. If you are not familiar with the internal situation, it is difficult to find the exact location. Therefore, the innocent girl who interrupted the introduction decided to personally lead Zhang Fengjai to the third unit of Building 9. "Thank you." Hearing that the innocent girl in front of him was willing to lead the way personally, Zhang Fengjai hurriedly thanked her. At this time, Zhu Zhenjun, who had parked his sports car, also rushed into the sales office. Unlike Zhang Fengjai's shabby dress, Zhu Zhenjun, who came from a wealthy family, was fat, but he was dressed in branded clothes and wore a famous watch worth more than hundreds of thousands of yuan on his wrist. People could tell at a glance that he was definitely not a rich cook, which immediately aroused the great interest of the stunning girl. After quickly tidying up her clothes and makeup, the stunning girl greeted her with a smile on her face. But Zhu Zhenjun ignored her and ran past her, quickly running behind Zhang Fengjai, following behind like a younger brother. This not only made the stunning woman's face change, but also made the other dozen girls in the sales office look confused and speculative. Turning her head to look at Zhu Zhenjun, who was dressed like a rich man, the innocent girl's clear eyes did not change at all. While continuing to lead the way, she couldn't help but want to know why Zhang Fengjai was in a hurry to go to Unit 3 of Building 9. "Save people," Zhang Fengjai responded to the innocent girl's question while observing the layout of the entire Roman holiday. "Save who?" the innocent girl asked immediately. "Solitsi, the vice president of your Yongsheng group." When the innocent girl heard that the person the thin boy was going to rescue was actually their sales department's immediate superior, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she suddenly remembered that 4 hours ago, a young female customer who bought the king of the building number 9 asked for a refund on the pretext that the room was haunted. The person who was responsible for handling the dispute happened to be the vice president Solitsi, who rushed over. However, it was the busiest time for sales at that time, so General Manager Su did not have anyone to accompany him to deal with the difficult female customer alone. After everyone was done, they immediately took the time to count today's sales, and no one remembered the existence of General Manager Su. Thinking of General Manager Su, who was valued by the chairman and general manager, if something happened during the Roman holiday, the staff of the sales office would not be able to avoid being held accountable. The innocent girl seemed a little panicked for the first time and quickened her pace to rush to Unit 3 of Building Number 9. So that's what happened. Led by the innocent girl, they soon arrived in front of Building Number 9, which had a total of 32 floors. Zhang Fengjai quickly slid his index and middle fingers across his eyelids, and when he observed Building Number 9 with his open eyes, he finally knew why Solitsi was in danger. "Brother Zhu, girl, you wait downstairs first." After turning his head and giving an order to Zhu Zhenjun and the innocent girl, Zhang Fengjai rushed into the building quickly. "You wait here." The innocent girl, who was worried about Solitsi's safety, was unwilling to wait there. She turned her head and gave an order to Zhu Zhenjun, and also rushed into the building quickly. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 137. Roman Holiday. It was normal for him to obey Zhang Fengjai's orders. Because Zhang Fengjai was a monk from the Taoist sect, he had left an indelible and powerful impression in his heart. But when faced with the pure girl's orders, he instinctively nodded and agreed, which made Zhu Zhenjun feel quite puzzled. Although the pure girl was very beautiful and had a decent figure, with his wealth and status, he had seen and experienced many outstanding girls who were better than her, and he had long been accustomed to ignoring and controlling them. Therefore, it was precisely because of the inexplicable instinctive obedience just now that Zhu Zhenjun could not help but rush into the building. Since building number 9 was a new building that was being sold, there were a lot of decoration sundries piled up in the stairwell, which greatly affected the speed of climbing. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai, who rushed into the building quickly, had no choice but to take the elevator. Just as the elevator reached the first floor and slowly opened, the pure girl and Zhu Zhenjun also ran over quickly. In response, Zhang Fengjai just frowned slightly and walked into the elevator without saying much. After pressing the elevator button to the 28th floor, Zhang Fengjai closed his eyes and took a deep breath to calm his impatient mood. The innocent girl opened her beautiful big eyes and looked at Zhang Fengjai carefully, and couldn't help but guess his relationship with Mr. Su. After all, if Mr. Su was in danger, he should contact the nearest sales office first. Why did he let this boy with ordinary appearance and clothes come in front of him? And Zhu Zhenjun? He used the corner of his eyes to observe the innocent girl up and down, looking for the reason why the other party could make him obey instinctively. Boom! When the elevator reached the 18th floor smoothly, the lights in the elevator car suddenly went out, and then began to shake violently. Ah! The momentary blindness and the violent shaking of the body made the innocent girl, who had never experienced such a change, scream loudly and couldn't help but reach out to hug Zhang Fengjai. Zhu Zhenjun, who had experienced vampires, church masters, and lowly evil spirits, was not as panicked as the innocent girl, but a trace of fear in his heart made him squat in the corner of the elevator immediately. Just when the atmosphere reached the most tense, a weak flame suddenly ignited in the dark elevator car, and Zhang Fengjai's roar was heard at the same time. The three pure ones show their magical powers, and all the demons and ghosts retreat. Accompanied by the roar of anger, the weak flame that was originally just an ordinary flame quickly burned more vigorously and completely illuminated the entire elevator car space. With the help of the light brought by the burning flame, the innocent girl, whose fear was slightly relieved, saw that she not only hugged Zhang Fengjai's arms tightly, but also that her peaks were deformed because of the strong squeezing, and at the same time brought a psychological shock of numbness and weakness in her legs. Her face blushed and she immediately let go of Zhang Fengjai, and the innocent girl hurriedly stepped back a few steps. Zhang Fengjai, who remained calm, couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. In fact, at the moment when the elevator was in trouble, he was ready to fight back, but the right arm used for fighting back was suddenly held by the innocent girl, which made it impossible for him to pinch the spell and cast the spell of fighting back smoothly. Fortunately, the guy who caused the elevator to malfunction had not escaped yet, and now he still had the opportunity to kill and severely injure the opponent. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai, whose right hand was freed, immediately threw away the burning flame of the talisman paper in his hand, cut his finger and quickly drew a blood talisman on the elevator door. Then, he pinched the spell with his right hand and chanted a spell. All dharmas return to their roots, blood curses to kill demons. As the spell sounded, the blood talisman drawn on the elevator door immediately shone, and then directly hit a female ghost wearing a red long skirt and disheveled hair floating above Zhu Zhenjun's head. Ah! Accompanied by a scream that only Zhang Fengjai could hear, the red-clothed female ghost quickly merged into the elevator with an extremely painful expression on her face, and then successfully escaped. However, before escaping successfully, the red-clothed female ghost's scarlet eyes revealed strong resentment and murderous intent. At the moment when the red-clothed female ghost escaped, the lights in the elevator car that had been extinguished lit up again, and at the same time, it also dispelled the last trace of fear in Zhu Zhenjun and the pure girls' hearts, but Zhang Fengjai's face became gloomy. "Brother, are you in trouble?" Even when facing the vampire Alex and the lowly evil spirit, Zhang Fengjai was confident. Now, after experiencing the accident of the elevator stopping suddenly, turning off the lights and shaking, his face was gloomy, which made Zhu Zhenjun immediately realize that something was wrong. While nodding in response to Zhu Zhenjun, Zhang Fengjai directly reached out and pressed all the elevator buttons leading to the 28th floor, slowing down the speed of the elevator, and then took out his mobile phone to contact Shen Loxi. Unfortunately, Shen Loxi, who was drunk, could not answer the phone, and Wang Denmei, who could answer the phone, had no idea about the accident that occurred during the construction of building number 9. "Sir, I seem to know something about the accident in building No. 9. When Zhang Fengjai called to ask about the accident that happened in building number 9, the innocent girl couldn't help but raise her hand to signal. "Girl, please tell me in detail." Zhang Fengjai, who was delighted, quickly put away the phone and signaled. "I don't know the details, because I hadn't come to the sales office of Roman Holiday at that time. I just heard someone say that when the number 9 building was capped, a young steel worker accidentally fell to his death, and then the man's wife came to claim compensation." Recalling the rumors she had heard before, the innocent girl gave a brief introduction. But it seems that the final compensation was not negotiated. The man's wife jumped directly from the windowsill on the 28th floor and was broken into pieces. It was horrible to see. "Girl, when the man's wife jumped off the building to commit suicide, was she wearing a bright red dress and had long hair?" After hearing the innocent girl's story, Zhang Fengjai thought of the red-clothed female ghost who was injured by the blood curse, and immediately asked. "It seems so." The innocent girl answered in an uncertain tone. "Since the construction team responsible for the construction of building number 9 has left, I also heard a few words from the chat of the security guards." "Girl, who was the person in charge of reception and negotiation at that time? Choosing to commit suicide by jumping off a building just because the compensation for death was not negotiated, this seems a bit abnormal in the context of the country's gradual emphasis on protecting the rights and interests of migrant workers. Moreover, the bright red long skirt representing festive occasions is generally only worn at weddings. If it was an impulsive suicide by jumping off a building, the man's wife would never go home to change clothes and then return to the 28th floor of building number 9 to jump off the building to commit suicide. There must be a hidden story that others don't know." Therefore, Zhang Fengjai hopes to decide on the means and attitude to deal with the red-clothed female ghost after understanding the real hidden story. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 138. Roman Holiday, in the elevator. Minister Lu Xiaoyi of the Group Construction Department. After answering who was in charge of the construction of the Roman Holiday project, the innocent girl subconsciously reminded in a low voice. "Little brother, sister secretly tells you that Lu Xiaoyi is not only the minister of the Group Construction Department, but also the only brother of the chairman's wife, Mr. Shen's uncle, and has the final say in the group." If Zhang Fengjai only introduced Minister Lu Xiaoyi of the construction department, he might not have too many deep impressions, but when he mentioned Shen Loxi's uncle, a middle-aged man with a fat head and big ears, a wretched appearance, and a hypocritical smile on his face immediately emerged in his mind. Carefully recalling Lu Xiaoyi's face and style, and then combining the red-clothed female ghost's intention to sneak attack Zhu Zhenjun, he vaguely guessed the real secret of the red-clothed female ghost jumping off the building to commit suicide. If the truth of jumping off the building to commit suicide is as he guessed, then the next thing will be very tricky. He took a deep breath, took out 4 blank talisman papers from his sleeves, and then took out a delicate porcelain bottle from his pants pocket. Then, he used his finger to hold the pen, and used the blood of the black python as ink to quickly draw 4 talismans to drive away evil spirits. "You are a half-immortal who draws talismans to drive away ghosts." Seeing Zhang Fengjai concentrating on drawing talismans, the pure girl couldn't help but ask curiously. "What are you talking about?" Half-immortal, originally a commendatory word, is a respectful title for those who have special abilities and can change their fate. But after the impact and baptism of modern science, and the confusion of right and wrong by some charlatans, the word half-immortal has completely become a derogatory word for cheating, and even a feudal cancer that the police specially deal with. This also led to some strange people who really have the ability of yin yin and yang and know good and bad fortune, either living in seclusion in the mountains and forests without asking about current affairs, or can only call themselves Taoists or sorcerers. Therefore, after hearing the innocent girl's address to Zhang Fengjai, Zhu Zhenjun immediately shouted in displeasure. In response, the innocent girl stuck out her tongue playfully, and then apologized to Zhang Fengjai. "Little brother, I'm so sorry, sister, I didn't mean it just now. It's okay." Putting away the talisman she had just drawn, Zhang Fengjai waved her hand and looked up at Zhu Zhenjun, revealing a hint of hesitation. "Brother, what's wrong with you?" Zhu Zhenjun, who was stared at by Zhang Fengjai, asked with a little hair on his back. From the fact that the red-clothed female ghost used resentment and evil spirit to control the elevator to malfunction, and then secretly planned to attack Zhu Zhenjun, Zhang Fengjai guessed that she was full of endless hatred for some fat men. Therefore, he wanted to use Zhu Zhenjun as bait to lure the red-clothed female ghost into the mysterious evil trap set up by 4 evil-repelling talismans, so that he could rush into the room and rescue Sulitzi as soon as possible. But he was not sure of the true strength of the red-clothed female ghost, and he did not know how long the 4 exorcism talismans could trap her. If there was an accident in the process of rescuing Sulitzi, or if the exorcism talismans trapped her for too short a time, he could not provide timely support. Then, facing the red-clothed female ghost full of endless hatred, Zhu Zhenjun might face the danger of death. So, after repeated consideration, Zhang Fengjai finally decided to tell the truth and make things clear, and then give the choice to Zhu Zhenjun, letting him decide whether he was willing to take risks for himself and Sulitzi. "Brother Zhu, I'm afraid you will need to take risks to help me next." This is what happened. After hearing Zhang Fengjai's story and request, the pure girl looked horrified, with an unbelievable look in her eyes. Zhu Zhenjun was caught in a dilemma. If he refused to act as bait, although he could be safe, it would definitely make Zhang Fengjai very disappointed. Then, in the future, when he encounters the same danger, or encounters Western vampires and masters of the church, the other party will definitely not help him wholeheartedly. But if he agrees, thinking of the detailed portrayal of the red-clothed female ghost in film and television dramas, and the detailed description of the red-clothed female ghost in novels, he doubted whether he would be scared to death on the spot when he saw the other party's hideous face. For a moment, Zhu Zhenjun didn't know what choice to make. Ding dong. Just when Zhu Zhenjun didn't know what choice to make, the sound of the elevator door opening suddenly rang in his ears. Looking up at the indicator button of the elevator, he found that only the button for the 28th floor was still lit. Driven by the urgency of time, Zhu Zhenjun, who finally overcame fear with adventure, nodded and agreed to Zhang Fengjai's request to act as bait. "Brother Zhu, thank you." The test in the Dehao KTV box only made him recognize that Zhu Zhenjun was a friend worth associating with. Now, he is willing to take the risk to save Sulitzi, which makes Zhang Fengjai grateful and truly recognize him as a friend and brother from the bottom of his heart. "Brother, thank you for now." After waving his hand to indicate to Zhang Fengjai that he was not polite, Zhu Zhenjun asked with expectation. "Can you quickly prepare some protective measures for me now?" "No problem." After nodding his head in agreement, Zhang Fengjai directly cut his finger to squeeze out a drop of blood, and then drew a talisman on Zhu Zhenjun's forehead. Then, he reached out and lifted Zhu Zhenjun's shirt, and used the blood of the black python to draw a talisman on his fat belly to drive away evil spirits. Then, he solemnly warned. "Brother Zhu, judging from the fact that the red-clothed ghost girl was able to ignore my Taoist breath and easily control the elevator to stop, her strength and means are extraordinary. So, when facing the intimidation and attack of the red-clothed ghost girl, you should immediately close your eyes and not look at her to avoid falling into her illusion. At the same time, you must not turn around and run away, which will affect the 2 yang fires on your shoulders and allow the other party to possess you. Everything will be left to the means I have arranged in advance to deal with her." I remember, putting down the lifted shirt, Zhu Zhenjun secretly glanced at the pure girl, and nodded in a solemn manner. Taking out a demon-breaking talisman from his sleeve that was specially drawn to deal with vampires and church masters, but was not used in the end, and handed it to the pure girl, Zhang Fengjai also solemnly instructed. Hold this talisman in your hand. If the red-clothed female ghost intends to attack you, just raise the talisman above your head. Little brother, I am timid. Please don't scare me. Are there really ghosts in this world? As she reached out to take the talisman, the innocent girl joked without believing it. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 139. Roman Holiday, in the elevator. Ding dong. As the elevator bell rang when it reached the 28th floor, Zhang Fengjai, whose expression instantly became solemn, temporarily ignored the innocent girl's doubts and stared at the slowly opening elevator door. When the gap in the elevator door was enough for one person to pass through, he instantly rushed out of the elevator while pinching the attack seal with his 10 fingers. However, the red-clothed female ghost who was ambushing outside the elevator did not appear, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, his eyes quickly swept through the environment of the stairwell and finally locked onto the door of the room where Sulitsi was trapped. Without any hesitation, he took out the 4 evil-repelling talismans that he had just drawn with the blood of the black giant python and pasted them on the handrail, door frame, and ground of the stairs respectively. Then, he pointed to a position about 2.6 meters away from the door that trapped Sulitsi, and instructed Zhu Zhenjun, who was leaving the elevator. Brother Zhu, stand here. After walking to the position designated by Zhang Fengjai, Zhu Zhenjun asked nervously. Brother, you must hurry up and come out to save me. Brother Zhu, rest assured, I will. After nodding solemnly, Zhang Fengjai pointed to the location of the fire hydrant and instructed the innocent girl. Girl, just stand there. Little brother, there won't really be ghosts in this world. Zhang Fengjai's solemn arrangement and Zhu Zhenjun's frightened request made the innocent girl gradually realize that something was wrong. Considering the sudden power outage and shaking of the elevator just now, and the recovery after Zhang Fengjai shouted the Taoism, she suddenly felt nervous and afraid and asked. Yes. With the red-clothed female ghost ignoring the shock of her own Taoist spiritual power and easily controlling the malfunction of the elevator, she must have left the level of the evil ghost and promoted to the evil ghost. And with the strength and means of the evil ghost, it can easily reveal its true form in front of ordinary people. In order to prevent the innocent girl from being frightened to death by the red-clothed female ghost, or being frightened and running around to affect Zhu Zhenjun, Zhang Fengjai nodded and admitted truthfully. And the ghost we are facing next is a female ghost in a red dress. Could it be the wife of the steel worker? The female ghost in a red dress. When Zhang Fengjai mentioned the appearance of the ghost, the innocent girl immediately guessed the woman who jumped off the building some time ago. It is very likely to be her. While nodding to confirm, Zhang Fengjai solemnly exhorted. Girl, you have no grudges against the female ghost in red. As long as you hold the talisman I gave you, she will not easily trouble you. So, I hope that when you see the female ghost in red, you will not be afraid, let alone leave here easily. I know. Holding the talisman paper given by Zhang Fengjai tightly, the innocent girl nodded and agreed quickly. After taking a deep breath and mobilizing the spiritual power of Danshan, Zhang Fengjai walked to the door of the room where Sulitsi was trapped. Just when he was about to use the strength of his steel and iron body to kick open the security door directly, the crimson security door was suddenly opened, which made Zhu Zhenjun and the innocent girl nervous. With a slight flick of his sleeves, all 36 coins fell into the palm of his right hand, and then Zhang Fengjai stepped into the room. Bang! Accompanied by a loud slamming sound, the security door was heavily closed, which scared Zhu Zhenjun and the innocent girl so much that they almost jumped up. Three Pure Ones, Western Buddha, Guanyin Bodhisattva, please bless Brother Zhang to successfully kill the red-clothed female ghost. Looking at the heavily closed door, Zhu Zhenjun put his hands together and prayed. Zhang Fenjai, who was not affected by the slamming sound, quickly scanned the overall layout of the room, and finally locked his eyes on the balcony of the living room. Because Sulitzi and a young woman with a hot body and stunning appearance were standing in front of the window in front of the balcony. At this time, the window was open. At this moment, Sulitzi and another woman were in danger of falling downstairs at any time. Yezi, come and save me. Sulitzi, who was also awakened by the sound of the door closing, immediately showed a look of surprise when she saw Yuhairan standing in the living room. However, in the face of Sulitzi's call for help, Zhang Fenjai not only did not immediately rescue her, but continued to observe the entire living room. Seeing Zhang Fenjai standing there motionless, Sulitzi's eyes flashed a trace of sinister coldness, and she rebuked him with an unhappy face. Zhang Fenjai, don't you like me anymore? Don't you love me anymore? Or have you already fallen in love with someone else? Faced with Sulitzi's rebuke, Zhang Fenjai continued to ignore it, and his eyes kept observing, and finally locked on a photo hanging on the wall of the living room, a photo of a young man with a kind face and a simple smile on his face. When he saw the photo of the young man who should not have appeared in the living room, he finally confirmed the true identity of the red-clothed female ghost, and also found a way to force the other party to leave Sulitzi's body. That's right. The reason why he ignored Sulitzi's call for help was because he knew that Sulitzi had been possessed by the red-clothed female ghost. If he attacked, she would most likely fall out of the window. The sky and the earth are boundless, money turns into money. Zhang Fenjai suddenly threw out the 36 gold coins in his hand, pinched his fingers, chanted a spell, and rushed to the windowsill with the Qingfeng step. No. When she saw the dagger made of 36 pieces of money, stabbing directly at the picture on the wall of the living room, Sulitzi roared sadly, and a red shadow quickly rushed out of her body. And just when the red shadow rushed towards the Qianjian, Zhang Fenjai, who used Qingfeng step to rush to the windowsill, directly put his arms around Sulitzi and the stunning woman's waist, and led them back to the sofa in the living room. While casually throwing them onto the sofa, his mind controlled the forceful turning of the money sword. Finally, the tip of the sword was pressed against the nose of the female ghost in red and returned to his hand. Why? The hasty protection photos made it impossible for her to mobilize her evil spirit and resentment to resist the money sword. At the same time, with the evil destroying ability of the money sword and the spiritual power of the sun, it was able to completely obliterate her soul and completely destroy her soul. Therefore, the female ghost in red felt quite puzzled when she saw this young man with extremely powerful magic suddenly choosing to stop. Well. After waving away the dagger made of money, Zhang Fenjai looked up at the female ghost in red posted on the wall of the living room. Looking at her pretty and lovely face, she couldn't help but sigh. In fact, before attacking the photo on the wall of the living room, he had the belief that he would kill the female ghost in red. Because the female ghost in red dared to threaten Sulitzi's feelings and safety, she had already touched his inner skin. But when the photo was destroyed, she would rather lose her soul to protect the photo. This also allowed Zhang Fenjai to witness her unswerving love until death, and she couldn't help but feel compassion. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 140. Undying love and compassionate sympathy made Zhang Fenjai finally give up on killing the female ghost in red, but also decided to help her completely resolve the resentment and evil spirits in her heart, so that she could be reincarnated as soon as possible. After all, apart from resentment and evil spirits, there is no trace of blood in the opponent's body. This shows that during the period when the other party transformed into a calendar ghost and an evil ghost, he did not really hurt anyone, and he did not cause any unforgivable sins. So, After sighing softly, he walked to the window of the living room balcony, looked at the artificial rock eyries, ponds, weeping willows, and corridors outside the window, and asked with a slightly sad expression. "You jumped from here, right?" "That's right." While nodding in confirmation, the female ghost in red showed doubts and confusion in her eyes. Because she didn't know what the young man with powerful magic in front of her wanted to do. "I want to help you redress your injustice, help you resolve the resentment and evil spirits accumulated in your body, and be able to reincarnate through the gate of hell and start a new life." Turning around and looking at the female ghost in red and the photo behind her, Zhang Fengjai spoke truthfully what he thought. It was obvious that he kidnapped the other party's girlfriend first and used his girlfriend's safety to threaten the other party. But what about the other party? Not only was she not angry, but she wanted to avenge herself with good intentions and let herself be reincarnated as a new person. This made the female ghost in red, who had fully experienced the warmth and coldness of human relationships and the harshness of the world, couldn't help but question her. "You are neither my relative nor my man's brother, so why are you so kind to help me? Heaven has no relatives, but always associates with good people." Bowing with one hand, Zhang Fengjai replied with the gentleness of a Taoist monk. "Maybe I am the person sent by God to help you. Maybe I want to accumulate enough luck." He. After hearing Yu Heiran's gentle reply, the female ghost in red laughed twice, then turned to look at the photos of the young man on the wall. "Mr. Su, what is your little lover doing?" Seeing Zhang Fengjai sighing at the air in the living room, sometimes talking gently to himself, the stunning woman gradually calmed down from her fear, with a strange look in her eyes. Ordinary ghosts cannot reveal their true form in front of ordinary people. Only ghosts at the level of Ligui and Shagui have the ability and means to reveal their true form. However, if they want to reveal their true form in front of ordinary people, they need to consume the resentment and evil spirit they have accumulated so hard, which will indirectly weaken their own strength. Therefore, from the inexplicable inability to leave the room to the involuntarily standing in front of the windowsill, neither the stunning woman nor Sulitsi had ever seen the true appearance of the female ghost in red. Negotiation. Sulitsi, who had experienced several supernatural phenomena, vaguely guessed the dangerous things Zhang Fengjai was doing, so she had a worried look in her eyes. "Who are you negotiating with?" the stunning woman couldn't help but ask doubtfully after looking back and forth in the empty living room several times. "It must be a ghost," Sulitsi guessed. "Mr. Su, are you sure there is something wrong with you?" When she heard that the person Zhang Fengjai was negotiating with was a ghost, although a hint of panic flashed in the stunning woman's eyes, she was more excited and expecting. "Mr. Ye, you will know in a moment whether he is a ghost or not." Facing the ridicule of the female ghost in red, Zhang Fengjai didn't care at all. Because he knew that after experiencing helplessness and humiliating suicide, it was difficult for the other party to easily trust strangers, so he planned to let the innocent girl enter the room and retell the other party's tragic experience, and then he took the opportunity to say plans to help. "Girl, Brother Zhu, you all come in. Mr. Su, Mr. Ye, are you okay?" When the innocent girl stepped into the room, after seeing Sulitsi and the stunning woman sitting on the sofa, she quickly greeted them in surprise. "Ah!" When Zhu Zhenjun stepped into the room, the female ghost in red suddenly turned around, scarlet murderous aura immediately emerged from her clear eyes, and she screamed with her long hair flying. "Call!" Accompanied by the ear-piercing screams of the female ghost in red, gusts of wind blew up out of thin air in the living room, making the four people in Suli's posture suddenly feel cold all over their bodies. Zhu Zhenjun, in particular, felt like he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. Enough. Zhang Fengjai, with a flash of regret in his eyes, quickly mobilized his spiritual power to take a step forward, and then scolded sternly. "He is just a poor brother, not the murderer who hurt you. No. He is the murderer who killed my man and took away my innocent livestock. Not because Zhang Fengjai used his spiritual power to scold him, the female ghost in red stopped her piercing screams. She quickly stretched out sharp nails on her 10 fingers and looked at Zhu Zhenjun with blood flowing from her facial features. She believed that he was the culprit with a very ferocious expression. The culprit. The spirit of heaven and earth, the mind is clear. Seeing that the red ghost's remaining sanity was about to be overwhelmed by the strong resentment and evil aura, Zhang Fengjai's face changed slightly, and at the same time, he quickly formed a Taoist heart-clearing spell with his fingers, and then printed it into the body of the red ghost. But it is a pity that the pure heart curse, which can quickly calm down violent emotions, was directly dissipated by the overwhelming resentment and evil spirit, causing the female ghost in red to completely fall into madness. The world is infinite, money turns into a sword. Since the heart purification mantra has no effect, if you want to calm the red-clothed ghost from her anger, you can only weaken the resentment and evil spirit that affect her mind. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai can only continue to throw out 36 gold coins to form the gold coin sword to attack the red-clothed ghost again. When the red-clothed ghost, who was in a frenzy, used the thick resentment and evil spirit, the powerful strength that burst out was exactly the same as the result he guessed at the beginning, that is, it was quite difficult to deal with. The thick resentment and evil spirit can offset the damage caused by spiritual power, the sharp and pointed nails can resist the attack of the gold coin sword, and the long hair that changes at will forces him to use the Qingfeng step to dodge. If he bursts out all his strength, he can easily kill the red-clothed ghost, but doing so will go against his original intention to help the other party and lose the opportunity to accumulate deep blessings. In desperation, he can only use the means arranged in advance to weaken the fierceness and evil spirit on the other party. After temporarily forcing back the red-clothed ghost with his suddenly increased spiritual power, he turned around and grabbed Zhu Zhenjun by the collar, rushed out of the room quickly, and put him in the position just designated. Ah! When she saw the murderer who heard her escape, the red-clothed ghost screamed even more angrily. Accompanied by the scream, a more violent gust of cold wind formed, and the red-clothed ghost also rushed out of the room quickly. Let's go and take a look. Although she couldn't hear the scream of the red-clothed ghost, the more violent gusts of cold wind in the living room made President Ye firmly believe that the one fighting with Zhang Fengjai was a ghost. Therefore, when she saw Zhang Fengjai carrying Zhu Zhenjun out of the room and felt the cold wind in the living room blowing out of the room, she quickly jumped up and chased after him.